Latency versus throughput, one of the fundamental concept of system design, but still developer gets confused while answering this question. तो चलो इसको सिर्फ एक डेफिनेशन के साथ ही नहीं, एक एग्जांपल के साथ भी समझते हैं. So let's try to understand the latency with the help of client server architecture model. Okay, let's say a client sends a request to the server. Consider the request initiated from the client side at 0 milliseconds, but somehow the request reaches to the server at 40 milliseconds. Post that, server has processed that request, and once processing is done, server has initiated the response from their end at 160 milliseconds. But somehow the response reaches to the client side at 200 milliseconds. So the total latency in this case is 80 milliseconds, right? So the definition of latency says that the total time taken by a request to travel from one system to another system. So here in this scenario, request took 40 milliseconds to reach server from the client side, and the response took 40 milliseconds to reach to the client from the server side. So here the total latency is 80 milliseconds. But in many of the API monitoring tools, you will find API latency as 200 milliseconds, which is actually not the API latency. You can consider it as the total API response time. Now, if I talk about the throughput says the number of requests that can be processed by a server in a specific period of time. So let's say if a server is processing 100 requests per second, which means that the throughput of that server is 100 RPS, okay? And also, if it's a transaction, you can say it as 100 PPS, which is 100 transactions per second. So there is a myth that if your API latency is low, then probably your server throughput will be high. But that's not correct, right? Because